Hi, I'm Lauren. I'm a writer,
I'm Maddie. I'm also a writer.
and this is Writers on Writers. Well, both of us got into the industry because of our love of writing. You're a journalism major, I was an English major.
Yeah, so if you were to pursue a career in writing, what avenue would you go?
Well, I mean, we pretty much are writers in our industry now, or what we do, but I'd say one writing style that we're not doing right now in our practice is like writing a novel or more long form writing, or even like like screenplay or screenwriting that way. I tend to be very verbose, so I could see like just writing someone's biography for them, or like ghostwriting.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah. What about you?
I think that I've always loved magazines, so I would probably go that route, whether it be like a local publication or, I mean, if I'm going all out and I could do anything, I would probably write for like some sort of pop culture magazine. I think that'd be really cool, just because that's entertaining in my eyes. And yeah, I think that it's like a pattern of writing that I'm used to. Maybe like it's a little bit more fast paced, and it's kind of comparable to what we do. I think like we're kind of having to keep up with other people's schedules. So like how can we fit our stories into that, or like our clients' stories into that? So I like the comparison between the two and how they kind of bleed together a little bit.
Okay, I think I'm gonna change my answer because I like the magazine writing because I need to be on a deadline.
Yeah.
I need a deadline. So, and it's honestly, I mean, very similar to what we already do, I think.
Yeah.
It's like we read these magazines, even though they're not all consumer, they're trade magazines, and, we are on the editorial portion of it of, we understand like what their schedules are going to be, and then we get to kind of identify and like interview and like be that journalist as well, and
it's like having your cake and eating it too. You get to do both things, and that's always fun.
Yeah, I agree with you. Well, let's talk about like, trends in our industry. I mean, AI is such a hot topic. It's a trend. I don't know are you excited about it? Is it something you're skeptical about? What are your thoughts on
AI? It's something I'm a little bit skeptical of. Just with how fast it's moving, I do understand how kind of revolutionary it is, but I want to approach it with like a little bit of hesitancy, because I like doing my own work. I like writing my own stuff. I think it's very easy to kind of rely on it to do a lot of things, but it's a very helpful tool. So I'm trying to utilize it more in smart ways. A couple weeks ago, I was trying to write a caption for an Instagram post, and Rebecca asked me to do something where I implemented the heat wave because the caption was related to the weather. So I was like, oh, that's such a good idea, but I don't want to say heat wave. I don't want to sound like I'm a weather person. So I was like, but I couldn't think of a good way to do it. So I put that in AI, and I was like, help me write this caption, but don't say the words heat wave. And it ended up helping a lot.
Yeah.
So maybe just like little things, or also little kind of technical things like email stuff. I don't want it to write like the whole press release for me.
No. Yeah. And you can tell.
Yeah. But I don't know. What do you think?
I mean, I'm still skeptical. I mean, it's just because it hasn't been harnessed. But we can't really avoid it. So, with AI, I think in our industry, I've used it. I've mentioned this before, very verbose. And so we do a lot of award submissions for clients, or, writing projects that have like a word count or a limit, for an application or something like that. And so I have found it helpful to, run copy that's 500 words and say, I need to cut this down by 200, words, and, kind of.
That is really helpful. So I like that part of it.
Yeah, and I do like it, for like email, like subject lines, or if, like I have this email that's ready to go. I have like an article that's ready to go. I need some inspo for the subject line or the title of it. And so that has been very helpful. I was looking at some writer's guidelines for some trade publications that we work with, and magazines, and they're starting to actually spell out in the writer's guidelines, like, we will not accept AI authors.
Oh, wow.
And it's like, how do you tell? You know, and I think that's, I just thought that that's interesting. It's kind of like, you know, they just trust that you're not going to submit something that is completely authored by AI.
Right. That's so interesting because, like how you said, how do you tell? Whereas I've tried out Claude for writing a few things, and I noticed it's a little bit different than ChatGPT. I feel like, you know, with ChatGPT, after reading it so much, I kind of understand the formula of how they like pump their stuff out. So I can understand how you could tell that way, but with all these other new, you know, platforms popping up, I can see it getting harder and harder for people to figure it out. Right. So, but that's really interesting. That I'm not surprised.
Yeah, I'm not either. I mean, it's, you know, and I think like kind of just one last thing on like the AI stuff is, I think we use it more of like an assistant, you know, or like just kind of a second set of eyes that's, you know, a proofreader or kind of catching on that. So
definitely. Well, what's your go-to strategy if you hit a creative block?
Oh gosh, if I'm not under a deadline, you know, if something's not due that moment or that day, I usually have to just put it to bed and clear mind, revisit it like first thing in the morning, and that's when I'm like, oh, I'm gonna rewrite this, or things spark. I mean, I do like, you know, to reference past work I've done, or if I'm writing an article for, you know, a certain trade publication, I like to read through that trade publication to kind of get inspiration, or to kind of get like a tone or a sense of how I should be writing for, you know, this target audience and what they're looking for. So, you know, and I really like, you know, I do ask, you know, people's input here. You know, we're also diversified with, you know, what we've done, or, you know, work that we've, you know, that we've done, that it's, there's like never a shortage of, I'd say, resources to kind of reference. Do you have, what do you do when you hit a creative block?
I agree with you. I also like to take a step away from it. Like when I notice that I'm maybe like in too deep and I'm just like, I seriously can't write another thing. Like you said, bouncing it off someone else. Like I love bouncing an idea off you, or just saying like, this is what I have so far. This is what I have, and what are your notes? Something like that. Or also, you know, just looking through past work as well. And I think for social media, I love going on Pinterest for, you know, just even copy at this point, like just seeing what other people post on there. I feel like that's a great way to like that, something that boosts my creativity. Just because I'm like, wow, there's so much stuff on here that like, just like, how, like I wouldn't have ever thought of that. Right. So I love going that avenue too, for something like a graphic or some sort of, you know, design aspect.
I'll say that I agree with you on that. I mean, we do collaborate on, you know, like graphics for social media posts, and the platforms that we use. I mean, you can edit them in real time and see each other's edits. So it's like we can, it's almost like a working meeting or a working session. And I really do, sometimes you just need to talk it out, and kind of, that's just the best way. So.
Yeah, I agree. How do you stay inspired in such a fast-moving industry?
Well, I'd say, I mean, I'm always inspired by my clients, and by the clients that come through our doors, the ones that we've had forever, for a long time. You know, anytime, I like to learn from them. And, you know, signing up for the industry news, like newsletters. I mean, I still get like newsletters about oil and gas industry. I don't have an oil and gas client, but to say I won't. But, you know, that's just like, I'm always inspired by kind of news that's coming out about that industry, or that we can talk about a specific trend or topic from the client's perspective, and, you know, being able to talk through that and learn from them. I mean, it's like the most exciting, you know, kind of thing for me. But that's how I stay inspired, is really, you know, my clients. And
I agree. I think I like paying attention to what our clients are doing as well. Sometimes I like to see what our competitors are doing. I think just seeing a different approach sometimes helps me just, kind of rewire my brain a little bit.
Well, how do you stay inspired in such a fast moving industry?
Like you said, I also like keeping up with what our clients are doing, keeping up with like their projects or any news that they might be involved in. I think that's really helpful, and I also like keeping up with competitors, seeing how they approach things, and just trying to keep a good feed like on my social media sometimes of what is going on. I think that just helps me stay in touch as much as I want to get off my phone. I think it's really helpful to keep up with everything that's happening because it just makes me more on top of things.
Right.
So is there a defining moment in your life that made you pursue PR as a career?
Well, after I graduated, the job market was really bleak. So there weren't a lot of like opportunities for me, and I also didn't go to school for I didn't take any like marketing or PR classes. So I did fall into it kind of organically. My mom and my aunt both worked in communications. One worked in an agency, the other one worked in-house. And, so they kind of suggested, maybe you want to try PR. And so I did get an internship at Fleischman Hillard, which was incredible in their corporate reputation and branding. And that's like really made me fall in love with, storytelling and, the brands and all that. And I do really credit my intern coordinator because she was very hands-on. I really liked her, her approach, and, she kind of opened up my eyes to, different, avenues within marketing and communications. She made me really want her job, working with these different kind of clients and industries. So, yeah, what about you?
I got my start in it probably, early on in like high school. My volleyball coach at the time, he was in charge of our high school's magazine, and he knew I was really good at English, so he kind of recruited me to be a part of the magazine. I did it for that was my junior year, so I did it for 2 years, and I just ended up really loving it, and that's what kind of made me pursue journalism and strategic communications as a major in college. So that's the path I decided to go down, but also I didn't exactly have like a particular interest. I just knew I liked writing, so I knew I wanted to try a bunch of different things, like PR, like copywriting, or even design, which is not my forte.
But we do designs like PR, and
right, and
people don't really think that.
Yeah, and I got to like get better at that skill, even though I knew that wasn't something I was like initially like destined to do as a career, but I had those skills now, and I'm glad I kept myself open when I was taking classes and stuff, and even considering jobs. I was like, I just know I really love to write, so this job obviously had a great like deal of writing, so I was just like, oh, I know this is perfect, and I get to do so many different things also. So I think that's what I like about it, is just like keeping on my toes.
Yeah.
And that's something that I really loved about this line before.
Did you have a college paper or a high school paper, or
I had a high school paper, but my college, we did, but I was not a part of it, unfortunately. But yeah, like the writing for my high school paper, even though it was like just focused on my school, I was like, oh, this is kind of fun. Just like try to think of like,
did you have to interview people? And that's fun. What we do now. It's like we do it, but it's more like behind the scenes.
Right, exactly. So what's your favorite part of the job?
Oh gosh, I think going back to like media relations, it's a long lead time, to kind of get a story placed, and the work that we do, it's from like the concept of identifying a great topic or a project from a client, or there's a subject matter expert, and then being able to interview them, and then write an article or a story, and then work with an editor to get it placed, and then seeing that come out 3-4 months from now. That's always the most rewarding. And sharing that with the client and seeing them get excited about it. And I say like working in an agency is like it's just so different. Like the industries that I kind of worked on when I first started, they've evolved, and we didn't really do websites when I first started, and now because of what our clients are needing, what we're wanting. I mean, it's just evolving. We have to kind of evolve along with like the market.
Yeah.
It's exciting, that we can get a client in here from an industry that you never ever would think that we would become experts in, and so I think I always like to learn. So that's, there's never a shortage of learning from clients that come through, and work with us.
Yeah, I have to agree. I think that like just the constant change of pace about it all, like from client to client, and just even different tasks we're doing throughout the day, like changing up from like social media to event planning to media relations. I think that's so much fun, and like you said, you're always learning. So if later on down the line, like you have another like architecture brand or something, it's like, oh, I know how to work with them, and I think that's something that's also like really rewarding about the experience as well. It's also, like you said, it's like self-rewarding. You get to show the client what you did and then make them proud, but also you're like, oh, this is what I did, and I get to see it, my own work, and see it be like appreciated and valued. So I know how to work with them, and I think that's something that's also like really rewarding about the experience as well. It's also, like you said, it's like self-rewarding. You get to show the client what you did and then make them proud, but also you're like, oh, this is what I did, and I get to see it, my own work, and see it be like appreciated and valued. So but
okay. Well, I think that wraps up some of our questions, and it looks like it's time for happy hour. So you want to get out of here?
Yep, let's go.
All right.
Bye.
See ya.